Restoring Men in History, J.K. Rowling, a heroine, stands up again. We got it. Just came out. I just read this, so it's fresh. New York Post, December 30th, 3:34 p.m. J.K. Rowling denies existence of trans kids. Now let's go into the article. Warns medical interventions will one day be viewed as worse than lobotomies. Pretty strong. That's bold. She's been bold from the beginning in protecting girls and women. And that's what we're calling out for. This is about J.K. Rowling protecting kids. And it's sad what all these people are combining. Let's read on. Harry Potter creator J.K. Rowling has again waded into the debate over gender questioning youth, insisting trans kids do not exist and that medical interventions will one day be seen as worse than lobotomies. Her latest spat with the trans community was sparked by a critic on the social media platform who labeled the billionaire as having a hateful focus on the issue and encouraged to use her immense power for good instead. Have you ever noticed that many on the left, progressives, Marxists, attack with just by calling her hateful instead of making the argument? But it's kind of a difficult argument, isn't it? In other words, since men can't really be women, they weren't born that way and they're not ever going to be. You can't just change it with a surgery. And since girls are never going to be men, you don't have the argument. So a lot of their attacks just end up in a name calling. And by the way, if someone thinks they are, nobody's gonna be mean to them. And we shouldn't be. The point is they're driving it. Let's read on. The 59-year-old scribe has long been outspoken on the subject and didn't hold back in her response, writing bluntly. Watch this, it's fantastic. On X on Subway, there are no trans kids. We'll put the tweet up beside me. There are no trans kids. No child is born in the wrong body. There are only, get this, ready? There are only adults like you prepared to sacrifice the health of minors to bolster your belief in an ideology that will end up wreaking more harm than lobotomies and false memory syndrome combined. Now think about that. That's a bold statement. Prepared to sacrifice the health, and they are, right? There's many people prepared to sacrifice the health of kids, and she's fighting for kids. She then hit out at adults, and including parents, teachers, and even surgeons, for perpetuating what she described as harmful notions about the mutability of gender. Now, men are men and women are women. You can't change it. And they're confusing kids, and this is the sad part about it. I've seen a lot of kids and other people with these huge things of pills. And there's a lot of money going into this, and who's going to gain? Not J.K. Rowling. She's a billionaire. She has nothing to gain. She doesn't work in the government either. Who gains from this? Governments would have more control of you if you're on a lifetime of pills, right? Let's go on. Schools affirm kids' trans identities behind parents' back. That's the state versus parents. Who gains power there? So power, control. They want to push the parents out. Schools affirm kids' trans identities behind parents' back. Who's protecting kids, or should be? Parents. She's doing it here. Adding to her roll call of grown-ups she views as culpable, while always also condemning TikTok, where the author says children watch videos of surgeons selling the idea that bodies can be modified like Lego. She went on to highlight the struggles faced by many parents who went to protect kids from the zeitgeist, telling them that anxieties about puberty, sexuality, and growing up can be fixed by lifelong reliance on big pharma and by doctors who make, this is a good one, Frankenstein look ethical. Right? You don't want to be Dr. Frankenstein. You want to help kids. So confusion, kids need what? What do kids need? Not confusion, they need direction. So who gains by this? Big pharma gains. Medical establishment gains, doctors. Who loses? Society, kids, boys, girls, families, right? Who, and this goes into state power and totalitarians too, right? I feel sad for the kids when they're confused like this. It's sad. And she's standing. Rowling's views on transgenderism orbit around the notion that the movement represents a pervasive campaign of encroachment of biological men into women-only spaces. It's true. They do that. But there's more to it. It's about society, taking families out. And depopulating too as well, right? I mean, you're gonna have a population problem if a lot of these girls become men and they can't have babies. Now, that goes on to say about a half dozen stars, who cares, from her movies have condemned her stance. Of course, they're Hollywood. So, by the way, it's not just the doctors. Hollywood's in on it. They like confusion. There are a lot of movies. The celebrities that push it, a lot of celebrities dressing up their, I think Charlize Theron was dressing up her kid, right? And some others, I don't know exactly who. But they push it, right? Despite her opinion ranking being the celebrated is in line with the majority of Americans, well, it doesn't really matter about the majority. She's in line with the truth, right? Men are men, women are women, and you can't change that. And can you reach your potential, right? A girl trying to become a boy is never going to be a better boy than a boy anyway. You're not going to reach it. So if you're considering it, you're never going to reach your potential. You're never going to be that. If you're a man trying to be a woman, you're never going to be a woman. You can't be it. You might perform better in sports than them and take their sports trophies away, but you'll never be a woman. So I think the sad thing is it's sad for the kids, but she's a heroine, and we call out heroines. She stood with courage and truth. She didn't have to do it. Again, who's gaining? Doctors, medical establishment, organizations. Look at the money the government's pushing in California trying to remove the parents out of it. You know, when you've got a really bad ideology, I guess you got to get the parents out of it. So I would suggest homeschooling. And it's up, right? Indoctrination works. I think Gen Z's got 22 to 25%. I don't know if we'll have the chart that believe they can change. And I don't think this is helping society at all. And you see all the stories of the kids who regretted it later. That's anecdotal. But then there was a study in Britain that came on that said they shouldn't be on puberty blockers. So let's read this. Found that 68% of adults are against providing puberty blockers to trans-identifying youth 10 to 14, and 58 oppose hormone treatment. So I'm not an expert on this, but according to what we read, some sources said you had to stay on it. And I did see some people with all the pills. And some say it damages you forever. So what if you change your mind? And you've been on it. So anyway, J.K. Rowling, heroine, she took a bold stance. We reward boldness. She's bold. It's the state versus parents. Looks like they're trying to wipe out women, trying to wipe out men and families altogether and confuse everybody. And maybe that's to push for transhumanism as well. But it's not good for society, men and boys. Thank you.